Hey guys, Max19, welcome back to another tryout. Before I get into the tryout, I pulled my old boom arm out to try and solve the situation with the audio levels this time, instead of the silly situation I had last time, and this looks visually better, I imagine, so we'll go with that. Anyway, today's tryout is on God of War, the one that was like on the PS4, and I was playing it on a PS5 through the backwards compatibility that's there. So that's the situation going on there. So what do I know about this? I don't really know a lot about the series of God of War. Like, here and there I've picked up things. I have had it explained to me very recently. But I have actually seen at least one full playthrough of this game, like back near when it came out. So I kind of know what the game's about in terms of its narrative, and I've seen plenty of gameplay, but I've not played it myself, which is, a different experience than just watching it. You got the direct interactivity. So I figured I would just do that, since it's like in the PS Plus collection or whatever on PS5, and it's been installed on our PlayStation 5 for a while. I was like, somebody's got to play this, so I'll do it. I'm going to avoid talking too much about the story because, like I said, I'm already relatively familiar with it, but I do want to point out how, like, Atreus and Kratos' relationship it's represented in, like, this very nuanced and interesting way, where you obviously have, like, this concerned, stoic man, father dude who, wants to be caring for a child, but, like, isn't entirely capable anymore. And then on the other hand, you have a child who doesn't have the experience to understand that, and is basically going to, throughout this story, learn some of that a little bit. So, like, they have a really interesting relationship, especially to be put, like, in this sort of thing. I think it's interesting to experience, even if you're just watching a playthrough. But I'm going to try and focus on the game parts. So the first step here is that I think this game, like, really, like, still looks really good. Like, it is a few years old. I can't remember, it's like 2018 or something, but it still looks really good, even though it's a few years old now and it was from the last generation. And that's just how, like, a lot of modern games just sort of hold up decently as we go forward. There's this, like, line where some stuff, like, plays too close to the cutting edge, and so as it ages, it doesn't look as good in terms of, like, realism. But with this game, it sits a little more in the stylistic realm instead of, like, pure realism, and because it does that, its staying power visually is a lot better than some other things. Coming out of the gate with this game, there's one, like, little pet peeve I have with this, like, tutorial, and this is a pet peeve I have with a lot of different tutorials, and it's just that there's this trope that you sometimes see in tutorials where the game, like, just doesn't want you to do something yet. It's like, we haven't, you should be able to do this already, but we haven't told you how to do it. And even though these are, like, it's a standard control scheme, you should be able to figure out how to do everything. You're not allowed to press that button to do that thing yet. Even though, like, you will be in, like, 10 minutes, and it'll be fine, and you already should have all of the things that allow you, and narratively, as a character, to do that. We're not going to allow you to do that. Like, the biggest thing that I noticed was the run button doesn't work, I don't think, in, like, most of that intro section until you get to, like, your first, like, boss encounter there with that troll. And then the sprint works after that. But, like, I was just trying, like, I did some, like, little backtracking, because it was like, oh, there's probably no collectibles in this first area, and I was like, oh, there is stuff to get in this first area. So I went back, and I checked some stuff out, and picked some stuff up that I had missed, and I'm like, okay. But, like, I had to walk through all of that. I mean, he's like, Kratos is doing a little jog or whatever, but, like, the run button didn't function yet, so I wasn't allowed to use it, and it's like, why? I should be able to run. There wasn't even, like, a tutorial prompt, I don't remember, telling me how to run. But it's like that with, like, a lot of the different things. And it's a pet peeve of mine with the tutorializing, because it just let the player do it. Like, there's more than one way to learn things, and some people learn better just by experimentation and doing it themselves, and they'll figure out and internalize that control scheme better than just being told and like thrown through it like how a lot of tutorials try to do that stuff. So it's a pet peeve of mine. Just if you're gonna just let the player do all the things, unless like there's a reason why you don't want them to, which one of the things is it didn't want me to throw the axe in the starting area, I could tell, because there is a thing that you come back to at the end of the like little prologue section that is on the other side in that starting area. But like, it's just a pet peeve of mine. Another thing that's sort of mixed on here is the combat in this very beginning part seems to lack like the depth that you might want out of this sort of melee-focused combat system, and part of that is because I'm literally at the very beginning. I've not unlocked a lot of things yet, you know, the different abilities, so I only have so much. And I know that there are some other weapons and things later on in the game that will, you know, give more depth to the system. It's just sort of like, there's a reason why some games will do the thing where they start you with everything at the beginning and then take it away going into like the actual story, so that like you get a taste of what the final product of the combat system is going to be like. And so you're like, yeah, I want to get back to that, rather than starting with nothing and being like, this just kind of feels like it doesn't have as much as I might expect it to do, and then having to work towards that. It's a bit counterintuitive to hooking the player a little bit. But God of War's main hook, I think, is its narrative. So it's not as problematic as a brand new player to the game. It's just for me personally, since I already know most of the narrative and a lot of that stuff, it's not as interesting to be pulled through it like this. And I know that it will get better and get more depth as I go on. There's the thing where throwing the axe and having it come back to you is great. That's the best part of the combat so far. You just throw it and you pull it back, and if it comes back on you can hit stuff with it, pulling it back. That's real fun. I like that a lot. That's probably the best part. It's just sort of like, again, I just want a taste, of what the biggest, the maximalist version of the combat system is, so that like I'm wanting to keep going in terms of playing the game, not just experiencing it in its narrative. My last little bit here is, again, still sort of a mixed thing, where the the stranger fight there at the beginning, it just sort of keeps going. You fight him like, he gets like 3 distinct health bars that you deplete entirely, or something like that. And it's like this cool big like superhero throwing each other through large rock formations fight thing, and it's cool. It's just sort of like longer than I feel like it needs to be. I think we can get the point across that Kratos is a big, strong dude, and this stranger is unkillable, essentially, in a more succinct manner. And again, I imagine on like a first viewing, it doesn't feel as unnecessarily long. But this is more of like I'm just playing it for the game part in this case. And for that, it's sort of like a bit more like, okay. But again, I imagine it's like a new player, someone who's not familiar with this in any sense, wouldn't have this qualm with it at all. I think several of my mixed points wouldn't be as problematic if I didn't already have experience with the game's narrative, which I think is intended as the biggest driving factor for keeping people playing, not just the gameplay, because games will have different, desired demographics and, hooks to them. You probably aren't playing, Just Cause for the narrative. You're playing Just Cause because it's really fun to blow things up. But on the other hand, like, you're probably not playing a Doki Doki Literature Club for the gameplay. Specifically, you're playing that because of the narrative and how you can navigate that. So it's just different things for different people and different intentions on the behalf of the game developers. And I think the way that I'm currently playing in the game isn't the intended way for people to experience this version of God of War. And that's entirely fine. And then really in the end, my conclusion here is that I think the game passes for the most part. Like, I am interested in seeing more of the game and playing through more combat encounters and getting a better feel for the combat and whatnot. Because that throwing that axe, real solid, real fun. I like that. I like how the parry system, and I like there's a lot of pieces of the combat that are fun. It's just at this very beginning part, it lacks some pizzazz that I think some other combat systems do have at this early part of the game. So it's sort of like a mixed pass. I just don't do middle. It's yes or no on this show. So I think it passes. I want to play more of it just to see where it goes. I'm just not sure if I'll finish it. That's where I am on it. So yeah, that's my overall opinion here on God of War, like 2018 or whatever. So not much else to say. You go in the description and find links to all sorts of places: Twitter, Patreon, Bandcamp, Redbubble, etc. Click those links, go where they go, do the things you do there. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it. Subscribe if you want to keep it with this and other shows. Leave a comment. Have you played God of War 2018 or whatever? Have you seen a playthrough of God of War, this game? You know, what's your thoughts on my opinion here, and what's your thoughts on the series in general, and how do you feel about the upcoming God of War Ragnarok? Are you excited? Are you not excited? I don't know. Leave a comment, share the video, do the things. And anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!